Hello, everyone. It is I, Trini Jackson. We are back and better. I know it's been a couple weeks. I've been enjoying El Paso, me, my dogs, and I, just living it up. But I've been looking forward to this episode because if you remember from my last video or my last podcast, I talked a little bit about the financial information I was receiving from the YouTube channels and podcasts I had been tuning into. And I wanted to dedicate a episode to it because I really don't think I can even explain how much I'm learning at 23 years old from these other people that are just giving out their financial situation, and you don't realize how many mistakes you can avoid just by listening to what mistakes other people made, right? A smart man learns from his mistakes, a wise man learns from other people's mistakes, and I have felt very wise in these last 3 months where I've been just literally obsessed with receiving all this information. Sometimes it's just entertaining, but other times I'm really like, wow, okay, note, don't do that. So there are a couple things that I've written down that we're going to be going over that I feel like were really big lessons that I took from listening to all these individuals. But first, I'm going to go into my big three, which are my favorite financial advisors on YouTube. Basically on YouTube, okay? Gotta get some. Okay, so first things first, starting off strong, Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey is the OG. I remember being in the car when I was younger and my parents would be playing Dave Ramsey on the radio, and I never really understood what was going on. Obviously, I was a child. I thought it was always so boring, and now here we are almost 18 years later, and I am listening to Dave Ramsey. I don't actually take much of his advice because I do think it's a little bit old-fashioned for my taste. But what I love about him is how blunt and straightforward he is. He's gonna say what everybody's thinking. There was one episode where a woman was on the phone and she's like, "Oh yeah, I make $24,000 a year. I think my husband makes about $26,000, and we just got a car loan for about $20,000." He said, "Oh, you're stupid." He said, "I already see the problem. You're stupid and you're broke. Am I kind of right?" And then he'll make you call yourself stupid and broke. He is absolutely hilarious. I really believe that he could drop everything he's doing and have a Netflix comedy series because of how funny I find this individual. And then he'll have an hour-long episode, and it's kind of like speed calls. He'll go through 4 or 5 individuals, oh, boom, this is the debt you're in, here, do this, da-da-da-da. Oh, boom, sell your house, sell your car, eat nothing but beans and rice, you're good. Boom, pay off your debt, don't worry about anything but paying off your debt. Dave Ramsey is hilarious. I get a lot of comedic relief from him, and I'm still interested in hearing the other people's stories since he has been around for so long. A lot of people, when they first think of somebody, they're thinking, "Oh, Dave Ramsey. Oh, call Dave. So I do feel like he has a lot to pick from. He has so much content to watch, hours of footage, and the individuals that are calling him, I'm like, how did you get yourself in this situation? How did you get yourself in this situation? So, love Dave. He's the OG. I always got to shout out him. I literally get a lot of entertainment from watching his episodes or listening to him. Now, as I said, I do think his advice is a little old-fashioned for my taste, but it's been working for some people. A lot of individuals have gotten debt-free from his Financial Peace University, FPU, he calls it, which is great. I love that for them. Love that for him. Now, number 2 is the one who kind of kickstarted me into this whole flurry of wanting to watch more financial content, and that is Ramit Sethi. Now, if y'all remember, he launched his Netflix show, I Will Teach You to Be Rich, and I was getting my hair braided one day, and when you're getting your hair braided, you're there for hours, so my braider had put on I Will Teach You to Be Rich. She's like, "Oh my God, you gotta watch this show I've been watching." I said, "Okay." Next thing you know, I am locked in. I'm like, "Oh my God, play the next episode." Until we finish that season, I'm like, "Bro, put on the next one. I need more. And then we finish the season. I'm like, dang, what am I going to do now? Only to find out he also has a podcast. So I think, honestly, for about a month and a half straight, I was determined to finish every episode of that podcast. He always is going to bring on couples, okay? So they all have different ways they operate. Ramit really focuses on married couples, individuals that are having joint financial issues, which I really appreciate because that way you get a really different perspective into things that you should consider before you go into marriage, which is what we're going to talk about a little bit today. So Ramit Also, he's going to bring on one couple, and he goes really deep into like the emotional side of money. The other two individuals, which is like Dave and who I'm about to mention next, are really more focused on like, you're spending this, you're spending this, you're spending this. That's stupid. That's dumb. You're broke. Don't do that anymore. Which is always a lot easier said than done. Ramit really takes time to dig deep into why do you spend money like this? Why do you make these purchases? Why, like, what is your relationship with money? And if we can heal your relationship with money, then we can heal your future with money. I do like his approach. It's about like an hour each episode. He really gets deep into it, though. You learn a lot about these people's lives. Last but certainly not least, this is the one I've been obsessed with as of lately, which is Caleb Hammer. He is right here on YouTube, and he doesn't actually have a podcast, but he is on TikTok. I stumbled upon him through TikTok. After a while, I kind of like watched some of his clips. I was like, you know what? I need a full episode. I said, I need full episodes. And he is going to print out your bank statements. He wants to see your credit card statements. He wants the loans, the debt. He needs it all laid out in front of him. He's going to get his highlighter and his pen. He's going to be highlighting and circling. He's going to come to that table, and he's going to be like, Starbucks, Whataburger, boom, boom. You spent this, you spent this. You don't even have the money. You're losing $124 in interest every single month. You have debt over here. You have debt over here. And you're still going to Chick-fil-A. Why are you going? He's going to get into the nitty gritty. He's going line by line, purchase by purchase, deposit by deposit, and we're going to figure out where is this money going, why is it going there, and why have you not put it here? Why are you walking around doing da-da-da-da-da and you don't have money? 10 out of 10. Caleb is really intense too. He gives me little Dave Ramsey vibes because I like the way he screams and like his voice gets a little bit high. So he gives me mini Dave Ramsey vibes. I still enjoy him, and that's really the one I'm mainly like obsessed with right now, to the point where I showed him to my mom, my brother, my sister, and my dad. Everybody's watching it now. Everybody's watching it. Everybody wants to be on the Caleb Hammer show. We literally just can't get enough. We'll all watch an episode, and then we'll be texting about it. Like, oh my God, like, did you watch da-da-da-da? I can't believe she did that. Like, you know, love it. 10 out of 10. So those are my big three. Go check them out. Figure out which one you vibe with the most. Honestly, I like a mix. When I'm trying to kick back and just eat some food and I'm not really trying to lock in on the episode, Dave Ramsey. 10 out of 10. If I really am driving in the car, if I have a long ride ahead of me, Ramit Sethi podcast. If I just want to, honestly, Caleb Hammer is the one I lean on the most. I'm not going to lie. I lean on Caleb Hammer the most. I really love his show. So Caleb, if you see this, honestly, any of y'all, I love all y'all. All right, so I'm about to get into the lessons I've received and I've gained from these individuals, mainly from Caleb and Ramit, because I really don't listen to Dave Ramsey for the advice. But he's still great. I'm going to get into the lessons I've gotten from them. And then I'm going to just talk about some things I've implemented lately to improve my finances and, just my financial literacy overall. Starting with Ramit, because that's who kickstarted all of this. 1, don't jump into home ownership just to fulfill your American dream. This is such a common reoccurrence, it isn't even funny. Like if you had to go through every episode, 85% of them get a mortgage because like, oh well, that's what you do. You get a husband, then you get a house, and then you have a kid and you raise them in this house and da 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 da. But one thing he always talks about is that no one really calculates the phantom costs that come with having a house. Whenever you are owning a house, whenever like the house will need to be fixed, and he says that you should always be setting aside at least 1% of the house's total value just for repairs, just for when things go wrong, when the AC goes out, when the sink starts leaking, when the toilet needs to be fixed, whatever the case may be. You have to always have money set aside to repair the house because you don't have a landlord coming to fix it. The way he put it is that whenever you're renting, the rent is the most that you're going to pay for that property. The rent is the most you're going to pay for your apartment. The rent is the most, like outside of other bills, of course. But when you're paying a mortgage, that is the least you're going to pay, right? You're always going to pay at least $2,500. And that people are like, oh, well, I'm already, the way they justify it is they always say the same thing. Well, if I would have been, paying this much of my rent every single month towards a mortgage, then I could have had a house already. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. It always sounds great. It's never really that simple. There's nothing really wrong with renting. It gives you the freedom to pick up and get out whenever you need to, and then you have a landlord that is actually responsible when the fridge needs to be replaced or the lights are going out or the sink is leaking. So being the sole person that is responsible is going to just bring on a bunch of different things that you were not expecting. All right? There are so many phantom costs that individuals don't consider. They're like, oh, well, the mortgage is cheaper than rent. For a reason. Of course the mortgage is going to seem cheaper than rent. Oh, I could have already had a house. It's not that simple. Don't get caught up in the American dream and think that you need to rush into a home mortgage way too soon. Mind you, I'm 23. Am I going to be buying a home anytime soon? Who knows? But I'm going to keep this in mind. Honestly, now it makes me even happier to keep renting. But let's continue. Number 2. Have discussions about money early in your relationship. Don't wait until marriage. If this seems like I kid you not. 5 separate episodes. The man and woman are on the show, and he literally says, like, this comes out of the husband's mouth, I don't really like to talk about money. I don't really like to talk about it. And when one person in the relationship doesn't like to talk about money, it leaves the other one to solely stress about it. So these wives are just so frantic, so frustrated, and their partner literally does not care. They don't want to talk about it. I don't like talking about it. What? And it's in my opinion, for me personally, I cannot imagine marrying a man that does not like to talk about money. And it's not saying that money is everything, but it's something though. It determines what you eat, where you live, where your kids can go to school, the kind of vacations you take, the car you can drive. So like to say, oh, I don't want to talk about it, that's why you have so many money problems, because no one's talking about it. No one's deciding what should go in savings, what should be invested, what da-da-da-da. If no one's talking about it, it's not getting handled. It keeps getting pushed to the next month. There was this one couple that was spending every single month 95% of what they earn. And another thing I learned from the show, where you kind of notice in all of these shows, is that a lot of people are living check to check. A majority of these individuals are living check to check, to where one major issue, one major problem, health, whatever the case may be, injury, will completely throw their worlds upside down. They're literally in a position where they're vulnerable to anything. Like, everything literally has to go right. A tire cannot pop. You can't even sneeze because we don't have money. Literally. It's already like this 95% a month, and there are multiple people that are keeping up with the Joneses, living their lives on credit cards. It just made me put a lot of things into perspective, because sometimes you could be looking at so-and-so with the jet skis and the big house because one of the families was making a good bit of money, but it didn't matter. It really didn't matter, because they always spent more than they earned. So they would always have to, even though they had the jet skis and the nice house, it literally did not matter. They were living check to check. They were living their life on credit cards. Do not just think that just because people have it and it looks great. In America, personal credit card debt is so normalized. You wouldn't imagine who is walking around with the Starbucks cup in their hand, a Louis bag on their side, with $150,000 of personal credit card debt to keep up the lifestyle. Do not be fooled. Run your own race. Mind your business, okay? But a lot of the videos I see with Remy, with the couples, is like they wait until they're married and they have a child to discuss, oh, well, how do you think we should do this? Or what are your beliefs about money? And it's like, you're already locked in. You're married. Why wait this long to have such an important decision? Money doesn't have to be everything, but to act like it's not anything is ridiculous. These are conversations that need to be had. And when I read the Defining Decade, this is really something, as soon as you're like a year or two into your relationship, why do you not know the credit score? Why don't you know that they had a $100,000 loan taken out? Why don't you know the debt that they have before you sign on to take that debt with them? Have the discussion before. Honestly, the earlier in the relationship, I think the better, especially if it's something that you're serious about, because in the defining decade, she kind of talks about the conversations you should be having with your partner. Like, if their money is your money and your money is their money, why don't you know anything about it? And lastly, a majority of your spending habits stem from what you were or weren't taught growing up. This is a lot of what Ramit's show is going to be about. Kind of like, he's just going to be asking you questions about, okay, like, what did you see? What did you learn about money? Where did your parents teach you about money when you were a kid? A lot of people's parents don't talk about it, like, at all. There was only one episode where a woman actually had a parent who was always talking about money with her, who was showing her how to balance a checkbook, who taught her how to invest and things like that. And then she married someone who did not know anything like that, and that was kind of like the issue with their relationship. But if you are one woman had a father who was addicted to gambling, and he would just treat money like nothing. So then whenever she got older and she got credit cards, like, she treated money like nothing. Money is something that you spend. Money is something that you save. Money is something that we never have enough of. Whatever the case may be, if you can't get to the root of why you're spending your money the way you are and what you were or weren't taught, then I feel like you're going to continue to have the same problem. Now, this encouraged me to kind of look back at the way what things that I was taught about, concerning money. And I don't remember having any. I remember I used to ask my parents, like, oh, like, how much do y'all make? Like, because they always provided for us. They always made sure we had everything we need. If we wanted to try out for a sport, we tried the sport. It seemed like I thought we were rich. I did. I remember asking my dad that. I said, are we rich? I couldn't put two and two together, but it seemed like we lived a pretty happy life, and we had a nice house, and our family was so well put together, and everything was good, and we wanted to play sports. We played sports. We went to Disneyland. We went on vacations, and we got the school clothes and everything like that, and we went to nice schools, and we did things that families do, and we always had food, and really nice food, and I was like, are we rich? But he's like, Trinity, no, we're not rich. I was like, okay. And that was really kind of the end of that. And I know that they never really wanted to tell me how much they made in a year. I remember I would ask, like, how much do y'all make? And then I would come back like a year or two later when I'm older. I'm like, do y'all make this much? How much do you make? So it really wasn't discussed much in my household either. And so now I'm like, As I got older, I knew that another thing is, like, when we did get to the age where we were spending money and we had our own debit cards, if we needed money, our parents would provide. Even when I got a job, like, there was never a time where we can't justify, like, okay, like, can we have this to go do this? And they're absolutely not, They were, oh, yeah, okay, and they would send it to us. And then as I got older, that's kind of why I pushed myself even into this, is, like, wanting to take more control over my finances and earning my own income and making smart decisions with my money and not having to depend on my parents so much. They did great things for us, and I don't regret any of it. It's great. It's superb. But I definitely see how it had a negative effect on me, because for a while, I wasn't even worried about money. It was something we have. What is money? It's something we have. It's something we earn, like my parents give me. To be very real, because I had to have this conversation with myself. I said, okay, well, how did I grow up thinking about money? And it's not like we lived in, like, the biggest, best house even in our neighborhood. It was just the lifestyle my parents provided to us that it just seemed as if we could get what we wanted. And it wasn't even like in a spoiled way. I feel like they did it in such a nice way that it wasn't like the things that we really desired, they made it happen. Great parents. I'm not mad at them. And I don't regret. By now, as I get older, I know that I had to learn how to really treat my money so that I don't feel like I'm a burden to my parents and things like that. So through learning all this, I've been taking on of course, like, ever since I got my apartment, I take on most of my bills. It was really more my car that they were kind of still paying for, because I wasn't paying my car insurance. So I was just taking on more of my bills and more of my responsibility. But I had to realize that growing up, money was something that we had. I just thought it was something that was. You just ask, like, how do you get money? Ask nicely. Give a reason why you need. So I had to realize my own relationship with money, how it had affected whenever I started earning income, because then whenever I got my apartment, and I remember my first 2 months paying rent was when I was like, okay, like, I think I may have bit off a lot more than I can chew. I didn't realize it was going to be this, and this. I didn't realize bills were going to be this, and this, because I've never paid bills before having an apartment. So I jumped so deep into the deep end with the bills that I did take on with my apartment that I was like, oh, this is real life. So I was forced to start making better financial decisions for myself and making little budgetary decisions to make my life a little bit easier. Now, getting into Caleb Hammer. Okay? One of my, I love Caleb. Boom. First things first. Eating out regularly is the silent killer. And I made this comment on my TikTok, and someone was like, oh, you're just not going to convince me that a 4 for 4 from Wendy's is the reason I'm broke. And I'm not going to convince you that one 4 for 4 is the reason you're broke. You got to kind of watch some of his episodes. But I literally saw a couple that was spending $1,000, a little bit more, obviously, not exactly $1,000, but like $1,000 plus every single month eating out. It starts at $6 here, $5 there, $8 here, $23 there, $84 there. It's a really nice restaurant. It's someone's birthday present. And as you're adding, it just adds up. It adds up. There has not been a single episode where someone doesn't have a large part of their spending going to eating out. It's something I see so regularly. I wouldn't have wrote it down if I didn't see it so consistently in the episodes. Like, dang, door dashing food. There was even a couple on Ramit's show that spent $600 a month door dashing food. And that's like the most expensive way to get food to you. So eating out, it's not like you should never, ever, ever, ever eat out and don't ever treat yourself. Depending on what your debt situation is, I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money though. But even myself, I had to look at my thing. I do eat out a lot. Like, I will have groceries at home and still go eat. And that means I'm spending money on the groceries, and I'm spending all this money on food, and some of it's not even getting eaten. So eating out is something just to take notice of, because it seems like so mindless to swipe because, oh, it's only $4, oh, it's only $6, oh, it's only $10, oh, it's only $12, $15, $26, $42. It adds up. It adds up. I'm not saying the 1 4 for 4 from Wendy's is making you broke. I'm not. I'm saying the 10 4 for 4s, 3 Chick-fil-A meals, 8 McDonald's French fries, add the Starbucks drinks, like, it just adds up a lot quicker, especially if you aren't cognizant, aware, and paying attention to it. Eating out adds up. It's also really unhealthy. So a lot of the individuals that I see that on the shows that are eating out this much, it obviously reflects because it's really not healthy for you. And mind you, if you were going to spend $1,000 a month, you could literally just get a meal prep service like Factor, or that's the only one I can think of because I have a meal prep. I use Factor as my meal prep service. So if you could still get the benefit of not having to cook the food and just pay for a meal prep if you're going to be spending the money anyways. There's better ways to do it. That's just the most unhealthy way to do it. 2, not having an emergency fund is an emergency. As I said earlier, a lot of these individuals are already check to check. They're one big emergency away from their world being turned upside down. Not a dime in savings. Not a dime in retirement, honestly. A lot of them don't have retirement or savings. Nothing. It's scary when you think about it, because if you needed $2,000, let's say your car broke down, you need $2,000, but you need your car to get to work. If no one can loan you the $2,000, maybe you go take out a loan. Now you got to start working to pay it back. It's like, that's how you get stuck in the cycle of, okay, I have all this debt piling up. It just happens right before your eyes, before you even realize what happened. Minimum debt payments will creep up on you. Now, I don't remember. I think I had been watching Caleb for about 2 weeks, and I was watching with my mom one day, and I was like, oh, and this realization came to me. There was one individual who had about 5 or 6 credit cards, but the minimum payment for about 4 of the credit cards was about $100, 100 something. So it totaled up to $500 of minimum payments every single month, not including the other cards. So whenever she added up all the minimum payments from the credit cards she had, she was paying about $800, $900 just in the minimum debt payments. Mind you, paying the minimum balance on a credit card is probably the worst way to go about paying it off, especially if you want to build your credit, which is so important. But if you have all these credit cards and they all have a minimum payment that's about 3 figures, maybe 4, That's how you get to the point where you're really living check to check. Because maybe your expenses aren't that much, or sometimes they aren't in the videos. They aren't that much. It's like, okay, you have a pretty modest home, pretty chill car, no kids. Why do you have? And he'll be asked, like, why do you have all this debt? Well, I went on this vacation, and I just kind of like to live this lifestyle, and this. I got this camera. New laptop. Whatever the case may be, minimum debt payments stack up so quickly. They stack up so quickly. And the reason it's just a terrible cycle to be in is because the longer you don't pay off the debt, you continue to pay interest. I have never understood interest as clearly as I do now. This all kind of came to me on one episode because I've never really had many credit cards. I've never had to pay interest. So it's like, okay, I knew the concept, but I didn't really see its effect. So you have a card, you owe on the card $1,500. Okay, the minimum payment is about $125 a month. You make the minimum payment, but you still owe about $1,000. So every month you carry that $1,000 over, you're going to continue to pay interest. So it's not $1,000, now it's $1,050. Oh, well, it keeps growing. It's $1,080. It's $1,000, whatever. So in a couple of the episodes, there are people that are paying we're halfway through the year, and they've already paid $1,000 just in interest. You take out a loan for $5,000, you end up paying $6,000 because it takes you so long to pay it off. It's just a terrible cycle because the minimum payments are killing you every single month, but the interest is making the finish line, it's literally pushing the finish line further and further and further, which brings us to our next point. Once you start paying interest on a personal credit card, you are not a credit card person. Interest is literally giving them free money. Interest, I feel like honestly, once you start paying interest, you're now on a personal credit card. This isn't like a car loan or anything like that. Like, it's a personal credit card that you're just spending and swiping, and you're now paying interest on it. You're not a credit card person because you're not paying it off. You're letting balances carry into the next month and the next month and the next month, and then you get another credit card and you do the same thing. As soon as you start paying interest, you are not a credit card person, and you need to wrap it up while it's still early, okay? Because it's like you're now spending money regularly that you don't have. That is why you're paying interest. You don't have it to pay it off. Okay, so those are all the main lessons I got from these two great individuals, and it's just given me so much insight on how to treat my finances. I stopped eating out as much. I started living below my means. I'm working on getting out of my, the apartment lease that I'm in right now that is honestly too expensive, that isn't really worth it, because I know there's actually cheaper townhomes in Houston than the apartment I'm renting right now. And I started saving my money. I also started working intentionally on my credit. I got a Fizz card, which Caleb always recommends. It is a card that basically pays itself off. It's like a debit card, but it builds your credit. Has been amazing. I've been building my credit with the Fizz card, finding different ways to build my credit, things like that, because credit is super important. And I have now 5 credit cards, and I pay them off every single month. Honestly, even sooner than that. I will spend on my Amex cash, and I will pay it off 3 days later. I'm always in that app. As soon as it's available, pay it, just to build up the habit, to make sure I just don't get caught in the cycle of credit card debt that so many Americans get caught up in. So I want you to go watch if you want to. If you don't. But I implore you, they're all great at what they do. I love listening to it. It's been amazing for my own financial literacy. You can learn so much from other people. So I want to thank you for watching. Let me know what y'all think, or what financial lessons you've learned in this year that may have helped you. And if you watch these shows, maybe lessons you've taken from these individuals as well.